Welcome to the Life and a Bookshelf podcast with Beck Mills. Here you will find convos, connection, and random musings all about this 30-something life. We talk lifelong learning, we talk books reading, mini book reviews, writing, all the way through to home and wellness hacks and making a positive impact with our time here on earth in our own lives, our families, and out in our wider community. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hi, how are you? I hope you've been keeping really well. We've got a doozy of an episode today, and it's going to be all about the perfectionism. And the reason that I sound kind of excited, I'm a bit caffeinated, but also because this is something that I think is so common in so many people, and I believe it's not talked about enough. And I also believe that it's kind of like this thing in society that's sometimes it is almost like put up on a pedestal as a good thing. And I know a lot of people that feel perfectionism and perfectionistic tendencies do not feel like it is a good thing. And sometimes it's used as an excuse, and other times it's used as a reason why maybe we can't do something, or maybe as a reason why we're the best fit for that job. It's just like, it's crazy how many different angles you can look at this. And if you feel like you've had perfectionistic tendencies, or somehow perfectionism has impacted your life in whatever area, I would love to hear from you as well and how you're feeling about it. You can DM me over on the Instagram page. I'd love to hear from you. I'll put the link in the show notes for you. As I've been writing my book, I go deep into this in the book as well, because it's had that much of an impact on me personally over the last few years. And I know so many people are struggling with this. And I'm coming at it from how perfectionism has negatively impacted my life when I thought that actually it was a good thing. And this is the part that I feel like needs to be talked about more. So in particular, the book's going to be about simplifying the home, decluttering, and the process of finding your home again, but also finding you again underneath all the stuff. And this is a really big theme in the book. So one of my absolute favorite quotes on perfectionism is from Maston Kipp. He's got a few books out. And it goes, perfectionism is a dream killer because it is just fear disguised as trying to do your best. And I love that quote because perfectionism is really based on fear. And not a lot of people talk about that. Like I said, maybe people have called you a perfectionist your whole life. Maybe you've called yourself that your whole life. And, this is the reason that it's got to be done this way is because I'm a perfectionist or whatever it is. So I'd say that this is probably the biggest hurdle that I've had to overcome on this journey. And I'm talking about it like in terms of my home and simplifying our home. But really, it's in so many different areas of life. Like I know in terms of my health and like exercise routines. And there's been other areas like with my work as well as a physio. So I'm a trained physiotherapist. There was a lot of that. And I feel like it's really been an unlearning, I don't know if that's a term, but I feel like I've been unlearning a lot around perfectionism over the last few years. And I feel it has only benefited every area of my life. And that's why I feel like this is so important to bring up. There's also a lot of themes about allowing yourself to be a beginner at something. Like how much expectation and pressure we put on ourselves to be good at something the first time we try it. Or, like we put so much pressure on ourselves. And I know I'm not alone in this. And I think as women in particular as well. If you are finding that you want to, maybe you've got a big goal, or maybe you want to start decluttering the house, or you want to make some changes in your health and well-being, whatever it is, but you're feeling like you keep getting stuck and you're feeling like, I'm not going to do it until I can do it properly, that kind of thinking, then this conversation is absolutely for you today. So I'm glad that you're here. Perfectionism can be defined in so many different ways. And like I said, it can be seen as a really positive personality trait in our modern society. Like you think of people with job interviews and really talking up that perfectionism trait as being a really, really good thing. But I'm going to give a slightly different perspective today, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you've ever said things like, but I just want to get things perfect, like, is there anything wrong with that? I really just want to get them right. And absolutely, there is nothing wrong with that at all. But remembering that perfectionism is 100% based on fear. So another definition, a definition that I found of perfectionism is the need, and I really resonate with, is the need to be or appear to be perfect, or even to believe that it's possible to achieve perfectionism. Oh, perfection. Let me say that again. The need to be or appear to be perfect, or even to believe that it's possible to achieve perfection. The problem is that when we have those super mega high expectations for ourselves, it can have such a wide impact on the whole of our life, right? Not just one area in particular, though you might find in one area you tend to be more perfectionistic, totally normal. And, it just has such a wide impact. So those extremely, extremely high standards can really get all tied up in our self-worth. And not to get too heavy, but when you feel like you can't get things perfect, you can feel like a failure, like all the time. But you're still, in a way, you're striving time after time and relentlessly for perfect. It's like a vicious cycle. Not fun at all. And I know that feeling intimately. So I would love to hear from you, your thoughts on this. So yeah, when you have those such high standards for yourself, but you can never reach that, you're walking around feeling like a failure. Not fun at all. And then you keep trying and you keep trying. One of the most common things I've heard, like in terms of our homes and decluttering and organizing, is like, my house is always so messy and I can't get organized, but inside I feel like, a really organized person, and, I've got really high standards for myself and I really love this, that, and the other, but I can never, it always seems messy. And actually, it's really, really common for people that associate themselves as being a perfectionist, or maybe their family or close friends associate them with having perfectionist tendencies. A lot of them actually have a messy home. And, that's a whole nother conversation. What is messy, right? And because we all have a different perspective on that. But what I mean is there's a contrast, there's a big difference in what they're feeling inside to what they're seeing on the outside in their home. So things like unfinished piles of paperwork, or unfinished, it may be a certain project or projects that you haven't finished and they're sitting all in one spot out until you can put them away properly. Or, paperwork's a big one. And sure, there is that side of how much stuff we own has a big impact on that. But let's just talk about it in terms of with the perfectionism. If you've ever said things like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it properly. If I'm going to do it, I'm not just going to stuff around and half-ass it. I'm going to do it properly. And that is something that used to plague me constantly. So I'd have like piles of stuff out until I could properly put them away, or piles of recycling until I could properly recycle it. These are really, really, really common. So if that's you, just you're here, you're listening, and I hope this is helpful in one way or another. Like what can happen then is I'm going to do it properly. I'm not going to do it half-assed. Is what happens is then we can keep putting off that thing until later. And this is where kind of procrastination is the cousin to perfectionism. They're both based in fear. It may be like, yeah, you could be like going gung-ho with something like cleaning or a certain area of your house and everything's immaculate. And then another area, there's stuff just like unfinished stuff or unput away stuff everywhere because you want to wait until you have time or whatever energy to put it away properly. Now, first thing I want to say after all that is it is absolutely okay to take shortcuts and do shit half-assed. Like really, 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 it's okay. And this is speaking from someone who is a recovering perfectionist. And I do still struggle with this at times, but I've really started unlearning it in the last few years by doing shit half-assed, like really just like giving myself permission almost to do it really badly or do a sucky job at it or halfway do something. Because what then I've learned is that it starts getting done. Shock horror. And it may not be perfect, but if we can never actually achieve this perfection standard, at least you've started. You've taken an action. It's started. So just as an example, if something spills on the floor in the kitchen, whatever, like now I just clean the spill up, right? I don't try and then mop the whole house and floor. That's just a quick little analogy. But I think it's really time to start releasing and taking some pressure off of ourselves. Absolutely a total bummer, but there is no friggin' gold star for getting everything done perfectly. There is no gold star coming. Totally bummer. But you can get some stuff done, like in less time, and then have time for other things. But only if you start giving yourself permission to do an okay job or even do a sucky job. You know, just get the process started. You might have heard that saying. It's a pretty common one now. Done is better than perfect. Because it actually absolutely is. It's done. It's done. Whatever that task is, it's done. Which is always going to be better than it being not done, right? And as for those super, super mega high expectations, you know, it's like just like stacking pressure on top of pressure on top of pressure and weight on top of your shoulders and more weight. It's not going to end very well. It's going to lead to a lot more stress in your life, which, as we know, flows on outward to all areas of our life, our relationships, our careers, you name it, our health. Oh my gosh, our health. There's this thing that I remember, and it's like, well, if I can't do things perfectly and I can't get it right, like I'm not even going to, like, why would I even start it? You know, I don't have the right, whatever it is. I don't have the right filing system. So I'm not going to start trying to put stuff away until I get that perfect filing system or the perfect container or what have you. Yeah, something I've been really unlearning. And, you know, same goes with decluttering, right? Some people are like, oh, I've got to wait until I've got a whole weekend free. If only, right? I know a lot of you that listen have your families, your parents, or maybe have like grandkids around. And a whole weekend free is probably not realistic, right? But we want to wait until things are perfect. And, I've got a straight run of 3 hours to declutter this room or do my filing of my paperwork or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter what it is. When in reality, if you just allowed yourself to set a timer for 15 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, and just allowed yourself to do a sucky job, or one bin versus 10. A bin, I mean, like one container or tub versus 10 tubs, you know, allowing ourselves to make a start is the biggest thing. The other thing that comes into play often with perfectionism is then our expectations of others around us. So we can have these super mega high expectations for ourselves, but sometimes that crosses over to expectations of others around us. And maybe the people that live in your home with you, maybe they don't have the tendency towards perfectionism. And that might be triggering for you because you're like, do they even care? Like, why aren't they putting that stuff away? Why aren't they helping clean with this? Can't they keep their stuff organized? All these kinds of things, right? But it can like bubble over, and we can put that on our expectation on others around us as well, which can lead to resentment and things, which is not great for relationships. As I'm sure you know. So yeah, that's another little side note about our expectations. One of my I keep saying my absolute favorite quotes, but this is a little mantra that has really helped me over these last few years, and it's good enough for right now, and I can always come back and make it more perfect later. It's good enough for right now. I can always come back and make it more perfect later. And just repeating it to myself. And then once I had started and got going with the process, I actually saw it was okay and it was good enough. And you know what? Sometimes I didn't even go back to make it more perfect later because it worked. Whether it was like a simple organizing system, it was a tub to catch random shit in the lounge room, whatever. It's good enough for right now. I can always come back and make it more perfect later. This could go for so many different areas of our life as well. So I hope you find that little mantra helpful too. I did want to share before finishing up like 5 things in particular, 5 things in particular that have kind of like mind hacks, I guess you could say, that have helped me to start overcoming perfectionism. And these may or may not be helpful for you. So just take what you love, take what you like the sound of and give it a go, or leave it, whatever. Number 1 is give yourself permission to be a beginner at stuff. Anything. I've talked about this before, about permission. It is so, 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 so important. The actual word beginner can bring up a lot of feelings and emotion, and it was something that used to trigger me, like a word that used to trigger me, like being a beginner, because I wanted to be good at stuff like straight away. Right? I wanted to get it right the first time, which is so not life, right? Any new skill or anything you learn, we're always going to be a beginner at the start, but there might be a couple of things that you're naturally very good at, and that's all of us in different ways. But I think as we get older and we become adults, it's kind of like we feel like we should know how to do stuff. And actually letting yourself be a beginner at something can be quite tricky at times. So, yeah, like those situations that we then willingly put ourselves into where we're total beginners get less and less and less. And we just don't want to look like idiots, right? I don't know about you, but that's me. I don't want to look like an idiot. But I'm starting to unlearn that. I'm starting to try new things and try things in different ways and just the sheer amount of learning, but also unlearning is incredible and has been so helpful. And that's why I want to share this with you today. Something I say, like, to take the pressure off, like, I'm willing to do a sucky job of this. You know, I've just started, or this is the first time I'm trying something. I'm willing to do a sucky job at it and see what happens. Yeah, because that means you're taking action. And action leads to more momentum and more action. So whether that's like around your home, decluttering, organizing, working through and simplifying your house, or whether it's any other part of your life. Number 2, make use of the things you already have. Great life lessons. Where perfectionism is concerned, and in our homes, like, this was a big one for me. Instead of rushing out to get, for example, new and matching organizing tubs, containers, filing systems, blah, blah, blah. Instead of rushing out to do that, making use of the stuff I already have, which, mind you, made it easier that I'm in a small regional town, and would have to organize, you know, a trip to the nearest city to get this kind of thing or buy it online and wait for 2 weeks. But I think in one way that made it easier, but it was still tricky, right? Allowing myself to use it like a temporary, non-fancy solution allowed me to get over that hump of wanting all the matching gear, like, and I want it all before I even start. Because that is going to be a really big staller of any progress that you want to make. And this, I'm talking about the home specifically, but this is any area of life, right? Make use of what you already have. Like, I know a common one is people like, I'm not going to start working out or going to the gym until I've got a whole new outfit range to wear just to the gym. And, you know, maybe I have to wait 2 weeks for my online order. Maybe I've got to, you know, whatever it is, I got to get new shoes. It's not waiting for that. It's taking action, using what you have, making use of what you have. In regards to organizing gear, oh my God, this industry is huge and it's massive. And when you see stuff, it makes you think like, yes, this is what I need. This is the absolute solution that is going to make my house better. Ooh, marketing, right? So the other thing it did is actually made me more creative in a way, because I started looking at the stuff in my home differently. Like, oh, that could be a container for this or that or the other. This can catch random clutter in the wherever kitchen until I could sort it. Things like that, right? So it just got my creative brain going a bit more as well. 3 is the placeholder option, which relates to number 2. One of my favorite people, Denise Duffield Thomas, she's an author, entrepreneur, Australian lady. She talks about this idea of the good enough option or the placeholder option. And it is like a temporary stand-in option until you have time, energy, dollars, whatever it is, to upgrade to something better. So I used to keep in my phone notes, actually I still got it in there somewhere, like a note app. I use Google Keep or Google Docs, and like just listing items that I want to one day upgrade in my home. And then I'll find that temporary solution. It's like a placeholder. And the funny thing that happened was that placeholder was actually pretty good. And it was working really well. And then I hadn't thought of it again until I saw my note. And I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to upgrade that. I was like, oh, that's fine for now. Which is, coming from a perfectionism background all my life, that is a huge hurdle. So if you're struggling with something like that, like, I just want to upgrade all of these things, write them all down in your phone, find something that works for now, and you've got it there to look at later. Again, it's like getting over that hump and getting into action. Number 4, stop worrying about having those damn ducks in a row. Oh my God. Having all those ducks in a row before you start something. And again, this ties in with action, with doing even maybe a crappy job at something, but you've taken that start, you've taken that first step, and you've got in action, which is the most important thing. So like what I was saying, do you feel like you need to have all the matching organizing gear before you even start decluttering your stuff or looking at anything in your home? Do you feel like you need to go and watch 2 hours of YouTube videos to feel like you've got a handle on how to do something before you start? Or read 3 books on it or whatever. If this is you, then this is for you. Do you tell yourself like, you'll start when, maybe you'll start the decluttering when you get that free weekend all to yourself, or you get 10 cardboard boxes that are just the right size so you can donate them, whatever it is. You do not need your ducks in a row to start, especially to start simplifying your home. And as I always say this, any progress is progress. Any action is forward momentum, which is so cool. Whether it's like 2 minutes you spend on something, it's all 2 minutes forward versus if you do nothing because you're waiting. That old saying, like the how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. I hate that saying, by the way. It just really grinds on me. I don't know why I like it. So I changed it. The concept of it is great though. What about like, how do you declutter and simplify your home? One tiny little area at a time. And even though, and this to me was really hard when I first started this journey, because I just wanted everything simplified. I wanted crap out of my house today, now. But it wasn't possible. Young kids, kids get unwell. You get tired. You might like your work as well, or your health's not great, or whatever it is. Waiting and waiting and waiting until the day when everything is perfect is going to lead to you not starting. And you deserve to have a home that feels good, that you can manage easily, that is simplified. So one little area at a time. It absolutely is possible. And I've got tips and tricks for that, which I'll share. And I'm also going to share in the book as well. But it's really overcoming that all or nothing. And if you're interested in that, there's a podcast episode. I'm pretty sure it's called Catch It All or Nothing. It was one of the first ones, actually. So I've helped a lot of people overcome that all or nothing mindset. And I used to have it. Like, I'm going to, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. I'm not going to do it at all. But if you are finding it's like, oh yeah, it's all good for you to say back. Like I have absolutely been there and in the messy middle and I'm out the other side. So you can borrow my belief until you believe it yourself. Because I know you can do it. Last one, and then we'll finish up. Number 5, mistakes are great. Even saying it out loud still like feels a bit like in my body. This is something I'm actively working on. And I'm also teaching my kids like every day with this conversation at the moment. So I like feel it in my gut, like mistakes are great. And Adam Osborne, one of the quotes from him that I love is, the most valuable thing you can make is a mistake. You can't learn anything from being perfect. Seriously, right? The most valuable thing you can make is a mistake. You can't learn anything from being perfect. I love that so much. And if you're feeling like that point in your life, you're like, things just need to change, whatever area of your life that is. If someone had said this to me like 3 years ago, I'd be like, no, no, making mistakes. I think trying not to make a mistake is so deeply ingrained in so many of us. And I know for me as well. And I've had to unlearn this completely over the last few years. With my home, with my health, with my career, everything. And I think we've all been drilled with that, do your best. Yeah. Every time you do something, like whether it's at school or sport, like when we're growing up. But also maybe you got the feeling like yeah, do your best and you feel like you need to excel in that and stand out, but also not too much. This is like, there's this unease that we can feel inside. And, mistakes were totally the opposite of what I thought was required to achieve anything, any sort of goal. You know what? I've made so many bloody mistakes on this little mission to simplify our home and, find not only a house again, a manageable, calm home that feels really good, but also now lots of other areas of my life. And that I now think of mistakes as lessons. That's all. It's just a slight shift in a word. And, from those mistakes, I hope that I can share all those lessons. I hope that I can share and learn. Because absolutely, we make a mistake, we learn something. If we achieve our goal, excellent. It's all a win, right? But I know when you're in that perfectionism and you're feeling that in your bones almost, those high standards for yourself, that there's no point in doing something if you can't do it properly. But then feeling really shit, walking around feeling really shit all day because you can't meet your own expectations. Been there, and I know what you're going through, and I really hope that this helps today, whether it is in your home or your work or with relationships even, that I think if we can give ourselves permission to do a shit job, just to do a crappy job at something, number one, it's going to be more done than it was yesterday, which is great. It's going to be started, whatever it is. Number two, you might even learn something that's going to help us move forward even quicker. And gradually, we see that we can take action without having all those ducks in a row. And feeling that and confirming that to yourself is huge. So I hope you've enjoyed this conversation today. I love jumping on here with you. I hope you have an amazing day. Let me know your thoughts. If you feel this was a helpful episode for you, forward it on to a friend or take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram or your Facebook stories. And make sure to tag Life and a Bookshelf podcast, and I'll reshare it back onto my page. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. And I will catch you again really, really soon. See you later. So that's all for today. Make sure you click that follow button on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. I thank you so much for taking the time to listen in today. Appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. You absolutely deserve it. Talk soon.